Hey, it's me, Brian, the talking head. Anyways, here, let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. I thought today I would talk a little bit about hate. Now, hate is a bad thing, but in my estimation, the way that I learned it from all of my studying and my 50 some odd years of living, you know what I'm saying? I came to this conclusion a while back that there's only two true emotions. We have love and hate. Right? Now everything, all the other emotions build or stem from either love or hate. Right? So I thought today we'd talk about hate. Right? Hate is bad. It's a very bad thing. It leads to anger, it leads to jealousy, it leads to remorse, it leads to regret. It leads to all of those bad things in your life that take you down that road, and you end up at the gate. You know what gate I'm talking about? Yeah, the one that's got the fire on the other side. Right? Well, people that hate are stuck in their own little world. Something was done to them, or something happened in their life that caused them to become angry with themselves. Right? Because it all revolves around yourself. Now, Mr. Shah and the Sufis, I tend to lean on these traditions a lot because the Sufi traditions are about helping us understand ourselves, not everyone around us, just ourselves. And what Mr. Shah said about hate was that it's a systemic problem, right? That revolves around the metaphorical heart. People have hardened their own heart against themselves, and that's why they hate. Well, I tend to agree with this because I've known a number of people in my lifetime that were just full of hatred for not only themselves but for anybody and everybody that they ever came across. I mean, they hated the way they looked, they hated the way they dressed, they hated the way they sound, they hated the way they thought, they hated their ideas, they hated anything that they were about, for no more reason other than the simple fact that they hated the way they looked. Right? Now, hate is one of those emotions that tends to build on itself. Right? And once that fire starts, you can't put it out. It's like one of those white phosphorus fires that burns at 6,000 degrees. It's kind of like that nuclear power plant over there at 3 Mile Island back in the 70s that went China Syndrome on its side. Remember that movie, China Syndrome, where the power plant, you know, the core, it got exposed, and saying there was no water, and the core just got so hot that it started melting, and it melted clear through the 50-foot concrete floor. And then when it, you know, the threat was is that when it melted all the way through the concrete and it hit the raw earth, that the raw uranium would explode, and kabang! There'd be this huge, like, there goes the door, we're gonna lose light. There would be this huge explosion, right? And then they would obliterate the whole countryside. Well, that's kind of, think of hate as kind of like that. You know what I'm saying? It starts burning a hole in you, right? And then before you know it, right, your senses are gone haywire, and you can't see things right, and you don't know what's right or what's wrong. You just don't like it. I hate this. Well, you know, how do you deal with these people? Well, there's various different ways. You can, you know, try to convince them that their hatred is unfounded, which mostly it is, right? You can try to convince them that what they hate is just something that they don't understand, because that's the biggest problem here. Hatred is usually based in misunderstanding or not understanding, because we as human beings have this latent tendency right here that if we don't understand something, right, we hate it automatically and we need to destroy it. I'll give you a perfect example. Here in Winslow, downtown, there's an old Masonic lodge. It's been there since, I think the cornerstone has a date on there, like 1891 or something like that, right? And for the longest time, that building, the Masonic Lodge, was the cornerstone of everything that happened in this little town. Everybody that was anybody that thought they were somebody was a Freemason here in Winslow. My grandfather was, you know what I'm saying, my father was. I probably would have been, you know what I'm saying, and on and on and on. And there's generations of families here in Winslow that were members of the Masonic Lodge. Right, well, a couple, 3 years ago, before I came back here, right, some young people, right, thinking craziness in their mind and just full of hate, right, didn't understand what the Masonic Lodge stood for. If you spend any amount of time listening to Albert Pike or Manly P. Hall or any of the greater Masons with their understanding, you know, say Manly P. Hall was one of the greatest. I mean, listen to some of his lectures. Look him up, Manly P. Hall. Right? They have a website called prs.com where it has all of his lectures on audio tape. But anyways, if you spend any time listening to these men, these gentlemen, right, you come to a very quick understanding that the Masons, right, have a very deep understanding of the allegorical side of life. And it's not bad, and it has nothing to do with Satan worship or evil or witchcraft or any of this stuff that these young people thought it meant. Because young people today don't study anything. They have no concept of historical information. They just automatically hate something, and then when they hate it, it has to be destroyed. So what did they do? They hated the Freemasons. They set the building on fire. They burned it to the ground. Why? Just simply because they hated it? And they have no idea why they hated it? Yeah, that's pretty deep right there, don't you think? Well, anyway, hatred, hate. It's this systemic problem that starts in here, right here. Because remember, if you're a true-hearted person, if you're a true believer, excuse me, alright, you live here in your metaphorical heart. You don't live up here, right, in the foolishness and as Margaret says, the stinking thinking of a human. Because that's just human drama. Hatred is part of that human drama, right? That when you look out the window, oh my God, the bushes are getting out of control. I hate that. Well, instead of dramatizing yourself, why don't you get out the trimmer and go over there and trim down the bushes? This is me, Brian, sitting in the shed, Sam, talking about hate. Thank you.